and launch a war against Christians in this country. I wouldn't call it what happened on April 19th, 1993, on day 51. But this is another conspiracy, if you pull back from it, what we see unfolding in Waco, Texas. And the conspiracy is this is part of the drug war and the thug culture that we're living under. I wouldn't say this is part of Jade Helm or this is crisis actors and nothing happened up there with the 160 arrested, 9 dead, and a whole bunch of people wounded. This is the thug biker gang culture in this country that if we're not careful, mixed in with the Crips and the Bloods and the Mexican Mafia and all the rest of it, will turn us into something like Mexico. Economies based on thugism, based on gangs of crooks, based on tribal allegiances. This is a prison culture. We don't really have universities that give you a future, but if you go to prison, you will generally be pretty much forced into some type of criminal activity once you get out, because what else are you going to do? And this is all part of the larger slide into the conquest economy that I talk a lot about. Now, that said, the police aren't making a big deal of this, but if you read or watch the press conferences, they had undercover there. They had uniformed officers there. They told Twin Peaks this was getting out of control with upwards now of 5 different major biker gangs there, several of them clearly criminal organizations. And they knew that something would end up basically flaring up, because this is not like a rally or something with a bunch of motorcycle aficionados. This is a bunch of basically drug-dealing thugs and wannabe tough guys who basically want to set up their own type of organized crime operations inside of this country. And a lot of times, the organized crime higher up levels uses the motorcycle gangs as their puppets. And then the motorcycle gangs like the Banditos, the Hells Angels, and others have their own motorcycle gang puppets underneath them. And it is just absolutely the antithesis of the culture I'm into. I've talked a lot about this, whether they're black gangs, white gangs, Hispanic gangs, Asian gangs, corrupt police departments that become gangs, government that become thugs and gangs. You know, the Nazis were a gang, the communists were a gang. It is gang culture that is a plague on this country. And I personally have seen motorcycle gangs be rude to people's families in South Padre. I've seen them be rude to people out in the parking lot at the rodeo. And motorcycle gangs more and more are going to meet with the fate they met with the police when they mess with citizens. A lot of citizens will just pull an assault rifle out of their car and waste, 10, 15 of these bikers. Because people are sick of guys running around trying to act tough and intimidate everybody because they're so hard and they're willing to go to prison. Oh, I'm so impressed. You're willing to go to prison. You're willing to not want to have a future. Oh, you're so cool. Oh, you deal drugs that the government ships in. Oh, how impressive. We're all so scared. And, of course, they ran up into a larger gang, the police, that were just waiting for something to happen. If the police have done anything wrong, it's that they are not making a bigger deal about exactly who they shot when, because I bet when it comes out, some biker pulled out a gun, started shooting, and the cops just wasted a whole group of them. Notice they're not even saying which bikers they killed yet. But we've got a good idea. If you go to drudgereport.com, they've got a photo of the scene with the Cossacks out there with their Nazi thunderbolts all over their arms. We'll be back. With Jade Helm and the appeal that Obama will make for UN troops if they're able to start civil unrest nationwide this summer, with more race riots set to be kicked off in Cleveland. Jakari Jackson and Joe Biggs are now making their way there as we speak. We're going to break down all this and a lot more coming up today with Steve Quayle, and we'll open the phones up in the third hour with Steve Quayle. That said, Waco is back in the headlines, not for the brutal siege that killed so many young children back in 1993, ending in a fiery explosion. No, it's at a Twin Peaks, basically, bikini bar. It's similar to Hooters. And it happened just up the road from where we broadcast from here in Austin, Texas. The Cossacks, the Banditos, and other groups listed by law enforcement as organized crime. At least 5 different biker gangs were meeting there. And the Twin Peaks management refused to do anything, according to police, to mitigate the situation. So the police staked it out as best we know, because, quite frankly, government lies so much, I just don't believe things out of hand, but it may be true. Probably is true. There's a lot of witnesses confirming what they saw. And you've got 9 dead, a whole bunch of people wounded, 160 plus arrested, when yesterday at high noon, someone disrespected someone's prison etiquette out in the bathroom area, stall area. That spilt into the parking lot where fights started, then knife fights, then firearms were pulled out, and then supposedly as soon as the gunfire started echoing, the police took out some of the bikers. They're not saying how many. That's probably because they took all of them out and then don't want it to sound like they just executed them. We've got the controlled left running around saying it's white privilege because of the way that the bikers were treated. You mean put on the ground, handcuffed, and sent to jail? The police setting up checkpoints down the road as more people arrived, arresting them as part of suspicion and organized crime ring? They're basically throwing the book at them. Now, anyone who's a routine listener knows that I don't like motorcycle gangs. I don't dislike the veterans groups that like to have their own clubs. That's great. They go out and do community service or Christian groups. And you've got a right, if you want to have a group and get a reputation as tough guys or whatever, that's your issue. But I personally, and people I know, when they've had families with them, including myself once, have had motorcycle gangs aggressively pull up on the curb in front of me and then ask me if I have a problem. And I just freeze and start getting angry. And in both cases, they didn't push it, which is a good thing because, man, I'm not out here wearing leather and tough guy stuff and skulls and swastikas all over me and everything. I just want to have a free country and my children have a future. But, I mean, nice people are the most violent, vicious people around. Everybody knows that. And these biker gangs are a joke and need to be dealt with, or we're going to end up being just like Mexico, which has got a bunch of gangs fighting with each other, ruling the country, and it's disintegrating into hell on earth. But in America, the thug culture, not just in the Mexican mafia or in the Crips and the Bloods with the black folks or with the white supremacists out of the prisons and the prison culture, but with the media and MTV, I don't care whether it's country music or hip-hop, thugism is cool. And we've seen it adopted in the police departments in many areas. We've seen it adopted in the U.S. military. Gangs are just rampant. And it's what you see when a society is declining. It's what you see in a system where things aren't based on ideas and based on free association and based on valuing the individual. It's based on mindless, primitive, law of the jungle thugism. And it's what brought down the Roman Empire. The Nazi Party, if they were anything, were an organized criminal street gang made up of military veterans. This is the thug culture I talk about. And I don't care if it's a group of black thugs at Barton Springs Pool threatening white people that I witnessed 2 Saturday nights ago, and who walked by me and made obnoxious statements to the friends I was with because there were some attractive ladies there. Basically, give us your women, we're going to have sex with them. Oh, you don't like it. How would you like to get popped upside the head, cracker? This isn't America. It isn't where I want to be. And I'm telling you, I grew up in Dallas and saw a lot of this, and it was not fun. And I was a creature, not of it, but in it. And I didn't go around acting tough. I was tough. And I didn't go around wearing gangster outfits. I went around wearing polo shirts. And I guess that's why people wanted trouble. Well, they got it. And the same thing goes today now. I've lived in Austin for 23, 24 years, since my last year of high school. And I've never had to deal in just general areas of Austin with gangster activity, thug activity, motorcycle gang activity. And I'm telling you, it's going on all over the place. And that's why I carry a firearm. Because I'm not going to get in some knockdown drag out with some bikers or with some black racist thugs or Mexican racist thugs. If somebody tries to assault me, I'm just going to defend my family. Center of mass. And I couldn't imagine being around 165, 170 criminal motorcycle gang people and a fight not breaking out between them. And I totally get what the police did up in Waco, probably shooting all 9 of them because they were just going to run around and wave their guns around and probably shoot in the air and the rest of it and see the real world encroached, putting them 6 feet under. But I'm just tired of driving down a country road and there'll be a couple guys in motorcycle gang and they'll kind of get over in the lane and bug their eyes out at you. I mean, all that's going to happen if you chase me down is I'm just going to get out of my car with a M4 and defend myself. I mean, I'm not looking for trouble, but, I mean, you guys just really have a death wish. I don't like ISIS. They're the exact same kind of people. Running around in their gang, running around with their black outfits and their flags and taking over cities, taking over towns, raping and killing the Christians. I'll tell you, I've seen the New York police act like gangs. I've seen other police departments act like it when they attacked our reporters in Ferguson. Just shooting them with rubber bullets and tear gassing them for no reason. Makes me want to throw up. But this is what we've got, is just a nation of a bunch of men that think it's tough to act like thugs and criminals. What's tough is to be strong and to be honorable and to build a good civilization and to be involved in community service that really helps people. And by community service, I mean standing up against the tyrants usurping the country. Our country's being taken over by foreign banks. Our country's being leveled and turned into a criminal enterprise completely. You can argue it's always had problems, but, I mean, it's really here now. And a lot of people are just giving up on believing in a free market system, and they're joining with the criminal system because this is the key point. They see foreign mega gangs, the foreign banking cartels that run the major mercenary and paramilitary groups and that control our foreign policy and control our Pentagon, taking control of everything and getting away with it. And so young people say, hey, I'm going to go join organized crime. I'm going to break the law. I'm not going to engage in a policy of truth. I'm going to engage in a policy of dishonor. And I'm only going to be honorable to my dirtbag gang. And there is no honor in these dirtbag gangs. They talk about honor all day. All they do is use people, and they're dishonorable to each other, and there's no honor amongst thieves. We are a nation of sheep. As Thomas Jefferson said, if we ever became a nation of sheep, we would be ruled by wolves. And we are now ruled by wolves. And we're going into a total wolf predator culture. And it's destroying productivity and prosperity and security. And it will force egalitarian, true liberals, classical liberals, paleoconservatives, constitutional